Hello, everyone, and welcome into my Sunday night edition of Crushing Fantasy Football. I am Bryce Lockridge, your host of the show. And guess what, guys? I just watched 10 straight hours of football. It was an amazing day. Lots of fun games. That Packers 49ers game to end the Sunday slate was very exciting. Aaron Rodgers leading his team to a comeback win at the very last second. Something we've all seen once or twice. Anyway, guys, I am here to talk about wide receiver production in week 3, and I am going to get right into all that juicy goodness. But if you haven't already, hit the subscribe button below. That's going to help me grow my channel. And if you do like the content today, give me a thumbs up. All right, guys, I'm going to give you my stud and dud wide receivers for week 3. Cooper Kupp is my first stud. This guy's been going off all season long. He saw 12 targets today. He had 96 yards receiving and 2 touchdowns. This dude has scored 5 touchdowns through 3 games and just been an absolute beast for the LA Rams. Matt Stafford and him clearly have a very good connection, and I don't see any reason why his production is going to slow down significantly at any point. I don't expect him to keep scoring 5 touchdowns every 3 games. That's obviously going to slow down as it has to because it's not a sustainable pace of scoring touchdowns. But this dude is going to be a very good fantasy wide receiver this year, and I think he will finish in the top 5 of fantasy football wide receivers. So Cooper Kupp had himself yet another great week. He has a great connection with Matt Stafford, and it's fun to watch. All right, my next stud wide receiver is Devonte Adams, guys. Devonte Adams tonight reminded us why he is the best wide receiver in fantasy football. He had 18 targets, 12 catches, 132 yards. His connection with Aaron Rodgers is just pretty much unstoppable. I mean, any high-leverage situation, Devonte Adams is getting the ball. I mean, on that last possession where they were driving down the field on the San Francisco 49ers trying to get in field goal range to win the game, he didn't even act like he was looking for another wide receiver. Everyone in the world knew he was throwing to Devonte Adams, and they still could not stop him. This is an unstoppable quarterback-wide receiver duo, and Devonte Adams had himself a great week. Look for him to continue performances like this going forward. Another stud wide receiver for the week is DK Metcalf. DK Metcalf finally had himself a good game after Tyler Lockett had dominated all the receiving statistics for the Seahawks in the first 2 weeks. DK Metcalf had 107 yards and a touchdown. The thing about DK Metcalf is I find it very rare for both him and Tyler Lockett to have a good week. So, he's definitely someone you want in your starting lineup, but it just bothers me so much that, 1 week it's a Lockett week, one week it's a Metcalf week, and you just never really know which wide receiver is going to hit. Today it was DK Metcalf, so he had himself a game. But thinking of this dude as a wide receiver one is just a little bit of flawed thinking, in my opinion. I think he's going to have a good season going forward, but the problem is huge Lockett games usually mean not a whole lot of DK Metcalf, and today it was the DK Metcalf party with no Tyler Lockett invited, but we don't know that that's going to happen every week, and there's going to be weeks where Tyler Lockett gets all the fantasy production and DK Metcalf doesn't do anything, so I like him a lot better as my number 2 wide receiver on my team. However, he did have himself a good week 3. And another wide receiver stud, oh my gosh, Mike Williams, guys. Mike Williams, oh my gosh. 2 touchdowns, 132 yards. This dude just absolutely went off. I actually did have him. I had him in my top 25 receivers for the week going into this game, but he had more targets than Keenan Allen. He's seen 30 targets on the young season, so he's getting targeted heavily. Him and Justin Herbert obviously have a very good connection. And guys, I want to remind you that this guy is an elite talent. He was a first-round draft pick. In the 2017 draft, he was taken 7th overall. He was the 2nd wide receiver off the board following only Corey Davis. And, when he has Justin Herbert to throw him the ball, he clearly is starting to show some of his elite talent skill set. And he's going to have a really good season. He's getting targeted heavily, and they are clearly intent on getting him the ball. And then my last stud for the week is going to be DJ Moore. DJ Moore had 8 catches on 12 targets for 126 yards. Christian McCaffrey left the game early, which definitely helped DJ Moore's production because, he became the number 1 weapon on the team. and the team took a 180-degree turnaround from being a run-first team to being a pass-first team when Christian McCaffrey got hurt. And as long as Christian McCaffrey is hurt, DJ Moore is a top 5 wide receiver start in fantasy football. He was already trending upward anyway, and I recommend plugging and playing him automatically without even thinking about it for the rest of the season, because this dude is a great fantasy wide receiver, and Sam Darnold has shown to be a lot better than we thought he was coming into the season. He was rated as one of the worst quarterbacks. That's absolutely ridiculous. It's only because he was playing with the Jets. He is a very competent NFL quarterback, as we are starting to see, and DJ Moore is going to be the benefactor of that. Okay, on to my duds for the week. First dud is DeAndre Hopkins. Man, this is disappointing. I'm slightly concerned for DeAndre Hopkins, and I know that sounds weird because he's in such a good offense, but the dude is yet to see a double-digit target share. It's a little bit unfair to criticize him for this game because he was coming in with an injury, and he was a game-time decision. He decided to play, and he just didn't produce very well. Every receiver has a bad week, but I'm just concerned about the fact that Kyler Murray, it seems like he's pretty intent on spreading the ball around, and I think this is going to limit DeAndre Hopkins' ceiling for the season. So I want you guys, this is not a guy you're having on your bench anytime soon or taking out of your wide receiver 1 or 2 spot, but you need to monitor this closely going forward. If his target share is down significantly this year, that could put a big hit on his ceiling, and we're going to have to reassess DeAndre Hopkins in our wide receiver rankings. Next dud is going to be Tyler Lockett. Tyler Lockett did not show up today. He did have 4 catches for 31 yards, and he's been a very efficient wide receiver on the season. He's hauled in 16 of his 20 passes this year. He obviously had the huge week 1 and 2. But today was DK Metcalf day, and as we've seen in this offense, these guys are notorious for kind of flip-flopping production weeks. DK Metcalf goes off 1 week while Tyler Lockett does nothing, and then vice versa. And that's why it makes me scared to start either of these wide receivers, because they both have enormously high ceilings, but whenever DK Metcalf has a huge performance, Tyler Lockett does nothing, and then vice versa. It's like these wide receivers just very rarely both have successful fantasy performances on the same week. So every week you're just kind of guessing, which sucks. But the problem is you can't bench either of these guys because they are just way too good. They have way too high of a ceiling. And when they do have good games, they can win you weeks. So, you just have to play them and hope that they hit. That's just kind of how you approach DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett. Anyway, Lockett busted this week, but don't think much of it, guys. He's going to bounce back in week 4. Oh, man, and another huge bust is Tyreek Hill. So, guys, Tyreek Hill has busted 2 weeks in a row. He was commanding the double team in week 2 from the Ravens. That was a big reason why he busted in this game. In this game, they just really couldn't get on target with each other. The Chiefs turned the ball over like 900 times in this game. Tyreek Hill had a fumble. They just really didn't look in sync. Andy Reid went to the hospital after the game. It's very unfortunate. I really hope that he's okay. I admire him very much as a coach. And I'm on here to talk about fantasy football, but I really hope that Andy Reid makes a speedy recovery. Anyways, the Chiefs have started 1 and 2. The offense was a little bit out of sync today, and they just got beat by a really good Chargers team. As far as Tyreek Hill's production, I would not worry about it. This is still one of the best wide receivers in football. He's got track speed, and he's got Pat Mahomes throwing on the ball, so he's going to have huge weeks. He's been a little bit 2019-like as far as his boom or bust production in the beginning of the season, but he's still going to have huge weeks where he wins you the week single-handedly, and his floor is going to go up. I think that these past 2 weeks were a fluke. Be patient with Tyreek Hill. He's going to bounce back in week 4. And then Robert Woods was my other bust, my other dud that I wanted to talk about. I'm very disappointed in Robert Woods, guys, because I actually had him on my must-play list this week. I will gladly take the L on that, admitting that I missed that bet enormously. And here's the thing. Robert Woods used to flip-flop production weeks with Cooper Kupp, and ever since Matt Stafford stepped in as quarterback, it's like these two guys just can't get on sync. Robert Woods only had 6 targets today and 3 receptions. Cooper Kupp had 12 targets. How do you explain that? Cooper Kupp is literally almost doubling Robert Woods in overall targets on the young season, and this is just crazy to me, but Matt Stafford and Cooper Kupp have a very good connection, and I hate to say it, but you got to have Robert Woods on your bench going forward. I was very hyped about him coming into the season with Matt Stafford stepping in as quarterback, but along with the Cooper Kupp problem, Deshaun Jackson seems to be taking a lot of Robert Woods' downfield targets, as he is the best deep threat on the team now that he's on the Rams. So it's just a total mess for Robert Woods. Deshaun Jackson is taking his deep targets. Cooper Kupp is eating up all of the receptions, and Robert Woods is just left to play in the sandbox. I mean, he just he just hadn't shown up so far. We got to bench Robert Woods until we see that he has some production. So it's a little bit disappointing, but can't have him in your starting lineups going here forward, guys. All right, those are my studs and duds for the week. I do appreciate you tuning in to the channel, guys. I love my Sunday night edition because I just got to see all these wide receivers play, and I got to share with you, what I saw and what I think is going to happen going forward. I'm definitely going to get at you guys tomorrow night after the Monday Night Football game and talk about the Cowboys and Eagles game and all of the fantasy relevance. And hopefully we see a good game tomorrow night. All right, guys, I do appreciate you tuning in, and I will catch you later.